everybody, I'm Beebs Kelley. Welcome back to another video. Today's video features some looks from Meghan Markle that I have never reviewed before on my channel, so it's going to be fun. And it's good timing too, since the rumor is that she's considering to hire a stylist. So perhaps we will see a big contrast in the coming months from what a potential hypothetical stylist may or may not be able to do versus where she has been when it comes to fashion fails. Potentially there will be a less wrinkled, less messy, more polished, and tailored appearance in the coming months. Also, you don't want to miss this bit of information I uncovered because it exposes yet another lie the Meg has told. Let's start with 2018. This is Anzac Day service. She is wearing a bespoke Amelia Wickstead blazer and dress, a Philip Tracy dragonfly beret, Manolo black suede heels, and a Jimmy Choo box clutch. A lot of this outfit worked quite nicely. The skirt's waistband has these slight pleats right here, which give the illusion of a more well-defined waist, which is helpful for her beneath this cropped jacket. But ideally, she would have worn the skirt slightly higher to prevent the waistband from being as visible. However, I do wish the blazer were not cropped in general, like at all, because that just further accentuates the boxy short torso. She really needs or benefits from longer blazers, longer tops. But in this fabric, a longer cut of the blazer may have looked too stiff without a good amount of tailoring. It could have been tailored in with some contouring stitching to give the impression of a more well-defined waist or a nicer shape or things like that to prevent it from looking too stiff and rectangular, but it may have been tricky. Overall, the texture is really nice and the rest of the outfit is quite nice and polished. It is appropriate for the occasion. Note these gaga eyes at William. It was a little intense. And this was before the Sussex wedding. So just note the exceptions that were happening here. She was being invited to and involved in royal family engagements, official stuff and appearances out there in front of photographers and everything before she was even married, which was unprecedented at the time. Later in 2018, at the Anzac Memorial during the Australia tour, she is wearing another Amelia Wickstead piece. This is a dress that's pretty nice. It looks like we can see a bra outline though, which I'm not sure why that would even be happening or possible under a dress like this one. It's beyond me. If you missed the undergarments video, I'll be sure to link it for you. I have an updated undergarments video discussing this very issue and why it's a problem and how to avoid it. And so while the dress itself seems fine, I actually quite like the dress in a lot of ways, but it isn't the best for a memorial. It is best etiquette to have the arms covered at situations like these, at minimum 3/4 length sleeve most of the time. And modest necklines is another part of that etiquette, so she has that part covered at least. Black is okay for memorials in my opinion, but as you can see, the others are not wearing black. I don't see many people in the other shots in the background in black colors. The royal family likes to reserve black for mourning because it adds significance to the color. It makes it more impactful the few times that you do see them in black. You know they're in mourning versus if they wear black all the time, then it takes away from the significance of the color. So perhaps like patriotic colors or something like that would have been a nicer option, or even just like navy or something. So overall, I think the sleeves are the main culprit of making it look out of place here. The dress's white buttons are probably lending a slightly more casual vibe to the dress as well, paired up with those short sleeves. Is it the worst crime? Absolutely not. But it certainly had room for improvement. Also, you see some wrinkling along the waist. That's likely due to it being too small in the waist. It's riding up and bunching up along that waistband. For reference, Catherine, the Princess of Wales, at the time was Duchess of Cambridge in these pictures, did not wear black to any of her Anzac Day or Anzac Memorial services. She was opting for blues, grays, whites. So while I could see the Meg thinking black was fine for memorial service, and it is in many ways, whenever you are in a new situation or a new job, it's invaluable to look to those who have more experience than you and follow their lead. So given that the Queen, Catherine, Princess of Wales, and other royals did not traditionally opt for black on Anzac Day service or Anzac Memorial services in Australia, Meghan should have also not opted for black. It makes it more poignant when you save black for things like Remembrance Day or mourning. It really isn't difficult to look up pictures of past years of the events and see what the other members of the royal family had been wearing, so it would have been invaluable for the Meg to do that and taken her cues from those previous outfits from those same exact occasions and engagements. But she didn't, or wouldn't, or couldn't, whatever. I think that blues or emerald would have been really nice options for her specifically on these days. Which leads me to this interesting bit of information I just found. When the Meg moved in with Harry and they were beginning to include her in official engagements before the wedding, which as we have established was unprecedented privilege being extended to Harry and Meghan at this time, Catherine gave Meghan Markle a list of all of her fashion contacts and connections. You guys, this is like gold to these ladies. What? How extraordinarily generous and kind of Catherine to do that. She literally handed her the resources that she needed. Here are the people who I use, who I have experience with, who would be happy to help you, who know what they're doing. It's very significant because these contacts had experience dressing Catherine, Princess of Wales, and perhaps other royals too, for actual royal engagements. They were familiar with the specific needs of these ladies in particular, and to some extent the typical etiquette for certain events. It would have been an invaluable asset. And so you know what the Meg did with it? She rejected it. She said she had her own fashion contacts. What? Okay. Clearly, the fashion contacts she had were not up to par or were not adequate. And perhaps, I mean, this really reads to me like Meghan immediately saw that as a threat. She already knew, despite what she says, there's no way she didn't know. She already knew that Harry and Catherine were close, got along great. Harry really liked Catherine. Some people think Harry, liked Catherine quite a little bit. I mean, who wouldn't find her to be an incredibly beautiful and fabulous person to be around? But, people think Harry perhaps really liked her. They clearly got along really, really well. And Catherine did a really, really good job. Catherine had much more experience, obviously, than Meghan Markle in this role. She had been doing it for years before Meghan came along. So what this reads like is Meghan feeling threatened by Catherine and thus didn't want any help from Catherine, no contacts from Catherine, no nothing from Catherine, no matter how much it would help her. She would not accept anything from Catherine or build bridges with Catherine because she saw Catherine as a threat for whatever reason. Mean girl status. Who in their right mind, though, would reject the fashion contacts from Catherine, Princess of Wales, one of the best dressed women of today? Let's say you legitimately do have your own contacts, though. Let's just pretend for a second that Meghan Markle did have a really great set of fashion contacts and really, really, honestly, did not need more fashion contacts and connections. Let's pretend. You would probably be even maybe excited to use those people who you've known for a while, to let them help dress you, to get them a little bit of shine, things like that. Perhaps you're really excited to use some of your friends who are fashion designers or things like that. Let's just say that's the situation. Regardless of that, when someone shares something like that with you, the gracious thing, the only appropriate thing to do would be to accept it. No matter if you intend on using it or not, to say thank you for this gift of information. You would be thankful that the person's trying to be nice and helpful, because offering to share or connect you to people who can be of use to you is only a helpful thing to do. So it's very rude and impolite of Meghan Markle to reject it, to just be like, no, I have my own. That's the story. She literally didn't take it and said, actually, I have my own. I don't know, thank you. That's super socially awkward. And it's also not smart because when she did this, she ended up looking amateur and spending millions while doing it on the wrong types of clothes. But let's get back to another outfit. This was an outfit pretty early on, during which time she was rumored to be using Jessica Mulroney as a stylist, which she later also rejected and said, no, the Meg styles herself. As you can see, it's not hiked up too far under the boob here. The skirt at the bottom of the skirt, the hemline, and the boots themselves being all super slouchy are a little bit heavy. While it is preventing that sort of twiggy ankle look, I do think it maybe could have been reworked with slightly less slouchy boots, perhaps. But the light skirt with the volume, paired up with a dark, slim fit top, is really balancing to her silhouette. It minimizes the wide shoulder line and wider, boxier torso, and adds a little visual weight to the hip area, which creates a much more balanced look overall than when it would be perhaps inverted, where the top is lighter and the bottoms are darker, for example. I do wish she would have left her sleeves down, as it would have looked a lot more polished than this shoved up situation, but overall this look was a great attempt at balancing. It did, however, upset the Meg that it had been reported that Jessica Mulroney, her best friend, had styled her on this day. But honestly, It's a lot better in many ways to let people think that you're being styled by someone else if you're in a role like this, because then if somebody just simply doesn't like something you're wearing, or you have some sort of fashion faux pas, or something you're wearing just didn't quite work out, then the public are like, why did the stylist do this to her? The stylist gets blamed, not the person, in this case Meghan Markle. So if Meghan Markle would have just let that be, then all of the subsequent fashion tragedies, people would be saying, bad stylist, boo, that stylist is terrible, rather than, why does the Meg always choose terrible outfits? Why is she so bad at looking polished? Why is this such an awful outfit? Why doesn't she dress better? By contesting in the media that she was using a stylist, she basically put all the onus on herself and then suffered for it. And quick side note, Harry looks pretty casual here. I'm not sure his outfit is really vibing. The suit jacket, the belt, and the shoes are just not quite flowing as nicely with those particular trousers. I think maybe he needed a little help with his outfit on this day. And when she was out of the venue, she was wearing this coat. And this is one of the very few times we saw her in the right kind of coat for her body type. This is sometimes called a coachman style coat, and I absolutely love these. They're especially great for Meghan Markle because they taper in at the waist and have a gentle flare at the hip. It's not as dramatic as, like, say, an A-line or like a coat dress or something like that. It doesn't have too much volume. It has just the right amount, which is really nice to not throw then her legs or ankles into looking overly twiggy and drawing attention to that. It's just nice and balanced. It adds a little bit of volume to the hip to counteract the shoulder weight, and it's just really nice. Gentle balance to the shoulder and overall silhouette, giving the illusion of a more well-defined waist, even when worn open, because they naturally taper in a bit here. It looks so much more polished and balanced than the messy ties and the trench styles or the voluminous wrap coats or poncho things or stuff worn open and sort of messily. The only thing I would wish for this particular coat is that the collar would be toned down just a tad, but I'll take it because the rest of it is nice. The rest of it looks really polished. Where is this coat? Does she still have it? She should be wearing it if she does. At this particular event, it again was really, really early on, and she caused a bit of a stir for walking in front of Harry to greet people inside the building. Now, this seems mild enough, but the thing is that at this particular point especially, Meghan Markle had never done anything like this before. Prince Harry is a prince and had been doing these things for a long time and has experience with this stuff. And at this time, Harry was the only titled person involved. So this gave really poor optics and came across as just plain bad manners. Harry knew the ropes, so for her to barge first looked like somebody who doesn't know what they're doing, is just there to wing it and be front and center even though they don't know what they're doing. And people reacted to it that exact way. This is another time that she wore a somewhat similar coat. This one looked a size too big. There's a little too much room in the waist and the hip. She just needed it taken in to really polish it rather than leave it looking a little frumpy. And the crossbody bag here is further accentuating the impression that the coat is a little too big. It's kind of adding a little bit of frump and visual noise across the front of it. But it was a nice attempt, the coat itself. Crossbody bags in general just tend to look a little more casual. No matter how nice they are, having it slung across you like this just comes off as casual and less professional. So she should have really avoided doing that in this occasion. The biggest problem on this outfit is the pants are far too long. They are so long, they look messy and sloppy. Boots probably would have been a better choice than the heels. The pants themselves, if hemmed correctly, were a really, really great choice because they're sailor pants. So they have a row of buttons across the front, almost like double-breasted set of buttons across the front that usually are at a bit of an angle, which help to enhance the illusion that you have a more, nice curvature to your hips and thinner waistline. Those sailor pants are a really great option if you have a straighter body type or if you need to add a little bit of visual weight to your hips to balance them out as compared to your shoulders or upper body. So the pants themselves would have been fabulous had she hemmed them properly. But once again, here she is in all black or mostly black, and she really could have looked fabulous if she would have pulled in some of that navy or emerald in the coat. It would have become a really cohesive, fabulous outfit. Here's another pre-marriage engagement here. This is the Stephen Lawrence Memorial, another memorial in black. You would want your arms covered. She and Harry were there to pay respects, and having your arms exposed like this just came off as casual, more evening vibes, less memorial for sure. It was poor etiquette to have bare shoulders at this particular event. Also, look at other people in the background are wearing covered arms or even coats. So this time of year, being sleeveless made her look even further out of place because she was not dressed for the weather. It was April at this time, so it's not like it was freezing middle of winter, but it was still not quite to sleeveless weather. Even if this was an appropriate time to wear sleeveless, it probably weather-wise was not. This V-neck, though, is a great option for elongating her neckline, so that part of it is nice. And the length of the dress seems really nice as well. I think she could have opted for dark heels. I think that would have been a lot better. And then the belt flapping around is a bit messy looking. Just a little fabric tape fixes those things and adds so much more to your look. You look much more polished if you have your belt taped down. The dress definitely sends cocktail party or evening vibes. Its black color and sort of sparkled, speckled pattern further makes it less appropriate for a memorial service. And this one here was in September, so once again, you're starting to get into fall and it's an evening time. You wouldn't want sleeveless at this time of year, so once again, that's looking out of place, both for the weather and for the occasion. There are very few exceptions in which sleeveless does not read casual. This particular dress has these wave-like ruffles down the front, and it's simply not the most flattering design for almost anybody, but adding that volume down the front for her really kind of gave a widening effect to her midsection, unfortunately. I do really like the color. This is a Jason Wu dress, and I think if it had been made with sleeves, she may have been able to get away with the ruffles down the front and have it not throw things too far out of whack. I think it would have made it appropriate for the occasion enough, and it looks polished enough that I would have ignored, and people in general would have ignored the widening ruffles down the front and just focused on the color more so, which is very, very pretty. The slingback heels are also a poor choice. They tend to look a little messy, and especially because she tends to wear them a size too big here. I think round toe pumps are a way better option for her. I know they're not as in style right now, and they haven't been for many years, but rounded shoes just help to give her feet a more proportionate appearance. I'm also not particularly loving this hairstyle here for her. She seemed really resistant to do updos, but updos, especially for like an evening thing, just really look more polished and more formal, and I think it really would have helped this particular situation because the curls that she has in, I mean, they just look a little amateur. They look a little less polished or less well done. These were some of her first official engagements and outfits. While they were a better attempt at looking polished and professional than the later years, they still showed a lack of understanding and choosing an appropriate outfit for the occasion, for use of color, sleeve length, and fit being difficult right out of the gate. In my opinion, this proves she definitely should have accepted Catherine's fashion context list. Who in their right mind wouldn't? She should have used it. But what do you think? Please leave it in the comments. Thank you so much for joining me for today's video, and I will see you next time. Have a happy day, everybody. Bye!